Hello. Hi. Uh, it's been so long since I've made a video or shared something. Uh, it's been a very contemplative time and a time of solitude, which strangely I think I've enjoyed a lot and learned a lot from. Um, I want to talk about prayer today, and you'd wonder. Uh, what is new to hear about prayer? I mean, don't we all pray in one way or another? I think we do. Uh, but if I were to sort of speak about it with an analogy, the way that we have been praying so far or were taught as children to pray was like making a call and leaving a message and then disconnecting the phone and coming back. Um, Making a request for, please God, make me do well at school, uh, make this person notice me, um, keep my people safe. They're all very valid forms of prayer. Um, but there does come a time on our spiritual journey the uh, when the idea of prayer changes. And I think on my path, I have been thinking a lot about uh, connection to the divine space that feels very real and very pure and feels like a very valid space in my life, almost physical, if I could say that. So I have to tell you here that my inspiration is this Christian mystic saint called Saint Teresa of Avila. Um, a couple of writers have written about her. Mirabai Starr has a book on her, and Carolyn Myss has a book on her. Uh, and Saint Teresa, writes about prayer, and she equates our inner world to a castle, and the castle has many rooms, and we move through the many rooms and then reach the middle. If you can, if I mean, you can call it the sanctum sanctorum, and you find God there. And once you do, there is no going back. I really feel that reaching the middle point of that castle, I don't know if it's gonna happen in this lifetime, but I do want to feel a real connection with the divine space. So I really just wanna, share some examples of prayers that I've come across and that have really made a difference to my spiritual life and my spiritual journey. When we have someone like God to communicate with, we understand that we can completely be honest. Um, there is nothing that we can hide from God. Uh, and so we reach a very vulnerable and pure part of our being uh, that connects with that divine space. Um, and just getting to that part in our being which feels fully vulnerable and pure I think is a very big achievement because a lot of us have not experienced our authentic selves or have not gotten close to experiencing the nature of our soul. Our personality is not our soul. Our soul is very different from our personality. So, even contemplating the idea of my soul, I think, is a form of prayer. So, there's a very beautiful prayer that Saint Teresa of Avila writes about. It is called the Recollection Prayer. You recollect yourself and pray yourself into wholeness. So these are just the points that I've made from the book. You gather together parts of your spirit that you have neglected, forgotten, or attached to others. You detach from all outside influences. The purpose of this prayer is to go beyond your ego and personality and discover the content and character of your soul. Teresa suggests repeating a prayer, then pausing to listen. Pray and listen. You are establishing a dialogue with God. Just looking at prayer with the perspective of having a dialogue, praying and then listening to the inner space that is inside us for words, sensations, intuition, answers, and then refining it because, our mind gets in the way of listening to our inner self, because we have such strong conditioning about certain things that we are not ready to listen to the inner voice of intuition, uh, which may tell us to do something completely different, and we may not want to do it. Um, and the voice of God is the voice of paradox. I think I began to touch the meaning of the divine space when I began to understand that God's language is divine paradox. Nothing is how it seems. If a situation is causing me pain, my soul may be rejoicing in that moment. So, paradox, right? I think another very important aspect of prayer is creating an inner sanctuary within ourselves that does not have any influences of our physical life. There are so many words, ideas, reactions, emotions that we carry throughout the whole day in our body, in our mind, in our heart and spirit from the reactions of people around us, the situations that we find ourselves in, from the pain that has come to us from people and situations. And I almost feel as if, the inner space is like contaminated and polluted with all those reactions of the outer space, the external life, the physical life. Wouldn't it be really, really beautiful if I could create one space inside myself that had none of those influences of the outside world? And Saint Teresa analogy of the castle really helps because it is a visual that is easy to imagine, and you can put yourself in that castle. You can imagine it any way you like, in any style that you like. And I have to admit that I've been reading her book for, I don't know, 2 years now. But till just a couple of days back, I could not truly visualize myself in that castle, in a space that contained only me and God, or my soul and God. But when I could, it was so beautiful that I knew that I had to talk about it. You know what is the biggest cause of our pain? Uh, the biggest cause of our pain is the physical life that we're living in. But how much of it is real? How much of it is just a figment of your imagination, really? All the stories in our heads, the reactions, the judgment that we have of people in our lives, and the idea that they cause us pain. Imagine colored ink of various kinds blending into clean water, and imagine that happening every day. I sometimes feel like that when I have not separated myself from the physical world and stepped into the sanctuary that is so easily accessible to me inside me, where there is only my soul and God. Now, the interesting thing is that I do not know my soul fully and I do not know God fully, but I intellectually do not know them fully. My something in me has an understanding of what it is. My computer seems to be dying. So I'm going to end this here, but I do want to talk more about this. But I want to come back with real felt experiences of this space the next time. Thank you.